Hi everyone. So far in American literature, you have learned a lot of beautiful and interesting novels and books. Today we will present to you a very famous novel about unconditional love named Love Story. Before we elaborate on the content of this book, let's first take a look at the author. Erich Seeger was born in June 16, 1937 and passed away in January 17, 2010. He was an American author, screenwriter, and educator. As an author, he was best known for writing the novel Love Story 1970s, a bestseller, and writing the motion picture of the same name, which was a major hit. Yeah, this one is his work. Seeger went on to write more novels and screenplays, including Oliver's Story in 1977, Man, Woman, and Child 1980, The Class 1985, and Only Love 1997. He also edited some scholarly works, include Euripide. This is Oliver's Story, the part 2 of Love Story. And Man, Woman, and Child will also make film about this novel. As an educator, Seeger was a professor of Greek and Latin literature at Harvard University, Yale University, and Princeton University. For the summary of Love Story is a romantic novel with desperate tragedy of love. It's about the love journey of two young university students. The man is Oliver Parrott IV, a Harvard student who will inherit the Parrott fortune and legacy from his successful family. The woman is Jennifer Cavalieri, a student from Radcliffe College, having a great desire with studying music, and her father is a humble baker from Rhode Island. From an unexpected meeting, two people from two different social worlds were attracted by each other and decided to follow their hearts. Without thinking the result of the future, their love was gradually deepened that they finally got married against the acceptance from Parrott family. Love is not a mistake, but it has a price. After marriage, Oliver lost the financial support from his father. As a result, Jenny works as a private school music teacher to support for Oliver to study in Harvard Law School. After graduating third in class, Oliver got a stable job with high payment, and it took Jenny to New York City to enjoy their life and let the financial hardship behind, but happiness didn't last long. They found out that Jenny failed to conceive and was suffering from leukemia, a blood disease, and will soon die. With their days together numbered, Jenny began a costly cancer therapy, and Oliver soon became unable to afford the hospital expenses. Therefore, Oliver drove to his house and asked for money from his father. Instead of telling the truth about the reason, Oliver lied to him. For Jenny's last word, she told him to avoid blaming himself and asked him to embrace her tightly. After that, Mr. Parrott realized the truth and came to the hospital to help, but by the time he got there, Jenny was dead. He apologized to his son, but Oliver just replied, "Love means never having to say you're sorry," and cried in his arms. About the setting of the story, in the late 1960s, Seeger collaborated on other screenplays and also had written a synthetic romantic story by himself about a Harvard student and a Radcliffe student, but failed to sell it. However, literary agent Louis Wallace, a professor in A professor in Yale University at the Williams Morris Agency suggested he turn the script into a novel, and the result was a literary and motion picture phenomenon called Love Story. The novel was released on February 14, 1970s, on Valentine's Day. Portion of the story originally appeared in the Ladies' Home Journal. Yeah, this is the journal. Love Story became the top-selling works of fiction for all of 1970s in the United States and was translated into more than 20 languages. The novel stayed for 41 weeks in the New York Times bestseller list, reaching the top spot. A sequel, Oliver's Story, was published in 1977. The film Love Story was released on December 16, 1970s.
Hello, my name is Tang, and I'll be in charge of the first three sections of the analysis: style, point of view, and characterization. Now let's begin with style. Love Story by Eric Segal is one of the most famous romantic novels in American literature history. The novel first appeared as a screenplay, and then it was sold to Paramount Pictures, and the novel only came into being when the production house asked Eric to transform the screenplay into a novel to further promote the upcoming film. The novel prose style ranged from telegraphic like "What can you say about 25-year-old girl who died? That she was beautiful and brilliant, that she loved Mozart and Bach and the Beatles and me," to comic like "Jenny, for Christ's sake, how can I read John Stuart Mill when every single second I'm dying to make love to you?" The next part is the point of view. The point of view of this novel is the third-person point of view through the narration of the main character, Oliver's parrot the fourth. The narration never changes to any other character. It focuses on him, and it helps the reader feel the thing that Oliver feels, see the thing that he sees, and we can easily observe the changes in his personality and ways of thinking after falling in love with Jenny. Lastly is the characterization. As mentioned before, the narrator of this story is Oliver Barrett IV. He's the son of a wealthy family and a Harvard graduate, but he's very envious of his father's accomplishment, and he longs to prove himself to his father. He wants to be acknowledged, he wants to be recognized, and he wants his father to praise his talent. And lastly, he is incredibly rebellious. He left his home and pledged to never see his parents again when his father refused to support his marriage with Jennifer. Jennifer Cavallari is Oliver's love interest. She is the exact opposite of his personality and background. She is a very ordinary girl, but very witty and smart, and as displayed when they first met. And she is very ambitious. She wins a scholarship to Paris to study music to improve herself. And then there's Phil Cavallari, Jennifer's father. There's not much to say about this man, but he's very kind and considerate. He wants everyone to be happy. When Oliver and Jenny refused to hold their wedding in the church, Phil is completely okay with that because he wanted them to be happy. And when he knew about Oliver's strained relationship with his father, he wants to use the wedding as a chance to improve their relationship, but Oliver refuses. And finally, Oliver Barrett III, Oliver father, Oliver's father, he is a very stern man, nicknamed Old Stonyface by Oliver because of the strict looks he always did, and he was a big success when he was young and an Olympic athlete. Despite the hostility from his son, he loved him. He loved him dearly, and he wanted to be a part of his son's life. But when the chance to have finally arrived, it was too late because Oliver hid it from him. And that's all for my part. Thanks for listening.
Everyone, my name is Nhi and I will present to you the plot of the story. Jennifer and Oliver are two different people, come from two different worlds. Oliver is a privileged Harvard student. He was born to be the heir to the Barrett's fortune and legacy, while Jenny is just an ordinary girl. She is a daughter of a baker in Cranston, Rhode Island. Um, they meet each other at the library on the Redcliffe campus. Oliver went here to borrow some books. At first, they convince themselves that they are not into each other. They even have arguments when Oliver wants to borrow a book from Redcliffe Library. Jenny calls him a preppy. We can see in Jenny's eyes Oliver is nothing but a stupid rich guy who goes to prep school. However, they started to enjoy spending time together. Oliver starts to spend every minute of his free time with Jennifer. They begin to attract each other and their love deepens more and more day after day. After graduating from college, the couple decide to get married. However, Oliver's father is against their marriage. He informs that Oliver will be cut off from the fortune, but Oliver does not take it as a matter. He said that, "Father, you've got nothing that I want." All he wants was to be with Jennifer, and he shows us an honest and sincere love which money cannot buy. Here, the couple struggle to live their separate life through Oliver's 3 years in law school on Jenny's income as a private school teacher. Jenny has to sacrifice her ambition for music. There was no more music for Jenny. She had to teach all day and came home very tired. Then she had to cook dinner. Restaurants were too expensive for us. There were a lot of films that we didn't see and places and people that we didn't visit, but we were doing okay. We can see even though they don't have much money, they do have a happy life together. And that is all love about. Upon graduating with extremely good results, Oliver is offered several opportunities, but he decides to take a job at a New York law firm, which offer him a very high salary. They then move to New York, and with their new luxury life here, the couple decide to have a baby, but Jenny fails to conceive. They then go to the doctor to check, and here Oliver discovers that Jenny is suffer from leukemia. Oliver's reaction when he heard the doctor said about his wife's illness is that he could not believe that. That is impossible, and he even waited for the doctor to tell him that it was not true. He wanted to shout and scream at the unfairness because Jenny was only 24 and now she was dying. he began to think about God. At first, he hated him, but then the next morning, when he woke up and Jenny was there beside him, he was ashamed. He feels thankful now because God let him wake up and see Jennifer again. However, Jollifer keeps this a secret from his wife. But on the other hand, Jennifer recognizes something wrong with her. She decides to go to the doctor and get to know the truth. After she knows the truth, they had no more secrets from each other. Now they could discuss things that young husband and wives don't usually have to discuss. We can see the irony here because young husbands and wives don't usually discuss about illness. They usually discuss about their future, about their career, and discuss about having a baby. But it's different for the couple. Oliver then stops his work to stay by Jenny's side, and he becomes unable to afford the hospital expenses. Then he decides to come to his father to ask for $5,000 to afford Jenny, but he does not tell his father the reason why. We can remember that Oliver once promised that he will never go back to his father to ask for money again. But now he do that because of Jenny, because he wants to do the best for Jenny. Do your best for Jenny. I don't care what it costs. I want her to have the best. I've got the money. We can see how much Oliver loved Jenny for to break his promise and go back to his father to borrow money. Jennifer's health declines quickly because of her illness, and at her last moments at the hospital, Jenny talks to her father to let her have a Catholic funeral, and she then asks to see Oliver. Here we can see a conflict inside Oliver's feelings when he last met his wives. Something moved deep inside me. I'm not going to cry. I'm strong, okay? And strong men don't cry. He keeps repeating to himself that he will not cry because his wife, his Jennifer, does not want him to blame himself. And when Mr. Barrett, Oliver's father, discovers Jenny's illness, he rushes to New York, but Jenny has passed away. He then apologizes to his son, but his son only told him, "Love means you never have to say you're sorry." That is a sentence that Jennifer has once told him. And then he breaks down in his father's arms. Throughout the story, Jenny and Ollie meet, fall in love, and get married, despite how their parents feel about it. They struggle to make ends meet, but they have a happy life together until a terrible thing happens to them. Jenny is ill, and the young lovers have to be separated when Jenny dies. The story reminds us somehow on the famous love story Romeo and Juliet. The techniques About the techniques, Siegel has used one outstanding technical in his story. It is the simplicity. The language used is sort of student's language, which means that there's typical way of speaking. Some profanity is used, and they are arguing often. There are also some common words which are repeated every time. They are spoken by all the characters and are used throughout the whole book, like and so forth. Goddamn, for Christ's sake. That is all daily words. And the novel is built up on dialogue. One critic believes that Siegel uses dialogue as a device to animate a spineless, mediocre, and spiritless novel. He also begins his novel with the question, "What can you say about a 25-year-old girl who died?" With this, he reviews the denouement and sets the tragic tone for the whole novel. And the irony of this story comes from the title, Love Story. With the title, we can imagine a fairy tale where a poor girl meets meets a rich guy. They love each other and they get married and then live a happy life ever after. But it is totally opposite in the story when the two they have to struggle every day. They have to work hard to make a living, and they get married against their parents' wishes. That's all for my part. Thank you for your listening.
Hello, my name is Khuong and I will be in charge of the theme of the love story. The name is Love Story, so of course the theme will be love. But what is love? First of all, love is understanding. This comes from the most famous quote of the story. Love means never having to say you're sorry. Love is to understand to the extent that no apology is needed anymore. It is to accept the flaw of your significant other. In the story, Jennifer understood Oliver and she let him be himself. She could have asked Oliver to compromise with his father so that she could live a comfortable life without having to work to support him, but she didn't do so. She understood Oliver and she wanted to stand by his side. Secondly, love is sacrifice, and this comes from both two sides. From Oliver's side, he abandoned his family, his wealth, his everything, so that he could marry Jennifer and to fulfill their love. And the sacrifice is obvious in Jennifer's side. She abandoned her music career, her parents, to marry and support Oliver for years. And this is one of her words in the last moment. Paris music, all that. You think you stole it from me, don't you? I don't care. You stupid rebel. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about the world, about her dream. She doesn't mind anything. She just wants to be with Oliver. She chooses to love him. But above all, love is connection. Love brings people together. Love brings Jennifer and Oliver, two people from different worlds, together. One is a smart girl from a working class family, and the other one is one hard-headed, rebellious boy from a famous lineage. They doesn't seem to match each other, but love makes them fit so well. And moreover, love also brings his father to him. For Jennifer, Oliver had to ask for the help of his father. After avoiding him for so long, now he had to confront him, and he finally called him father instead of sir. After his father gave him the money to save Jennifer, and when Jennifer dies, he finally let his father help him, and we could see that love really bring them together again. But love is not only about the romantic affection, it also means parental love or the family bond. The author brings two families, the cavalry and the barrack, to show the contrast between the family love, but not only that, it's also to indirectly show a model for Oliver to follow. It means to reconcile with his father. Jennifer once said, Oliver, oh, sorry, Jennifer once said, Oliver, your father loves you in the same way as you will love Bozo. But you parents are so full of pride. You will go through life thinking you hate each other. She could see the truth. The parents do love each other, but They don't want to show it, and they don't know how to show it. For the part of Mr. Barrett, he went all the way to watch the hockey match. She wanted to have Oliver. He wanted him to have the best education and the best job. And finally, he gave him the money to save Jennifer without asking for the real reason behind it. He does care for Oliver. And Oliver, he finally, after all the year, he called his father a father instead of sir. And he let his father hug him. He said that love means never having to say sorry. When his father doesn't have to say sorry, his love is enough. And this is one quote of Jennifer. It's from the movie, not from the book, but it means a lot to me. Mr. Barrett, Oliver would like you to know that in his own special way, he loves you very much. In his own special way. He does love his father, but he didn't show it. So we can say that beside the romantic affection, love can also mean the family bond. And that's all about the theme. Let's move on to the reflection.
Hi everyone, my name is Ngọc Trân. Now let's have an activity. Okay, you can see on the screen I have 3 people: parents, spouse, and children. And your job is to cross out one of the 3 and give me your reason. So then please, you cross both. And your reason. Well, it's so interesting. Then please, do you agree with him? Okay, thank you. And third, please cross out one. Okay, you cross children. And your reason? Vuong, how about you? How do you think? Okay, I find that all of your opinions are very impressive and interesting. Okay, now I have another activity for you. Firstly, please take a look on the advice on the screen. One more told her son, choose your wife out of the 3. We parents will leave you the soonest, and your children will have their own wife someday. It is your wife that will stay with you to the end of your life. So, do you agree with this advice? So now I've divided our class into 2 groups, and you have 3 minutes to give your answer. Right, now let's start. All of you have different viewpoints. This choice expresses your attitude towards your family and love. It's a choice that may affect your whole life, so be wise. Well, so far we have analyzed the whole story, and that's also the end of our presentation. Thanks for your listening. Thank you. Bye bye.